Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to ask, Mr. Chairman, did we change the time frame? Is it after 8 years as a qualifier?
Yeah, it's on line 20.
Okay.
You'll find General Assembly, you have 8 or more years of service with the General Assembly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? We open for a motion.
Move to pass.
We do pass. Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion for the substitute Senate Bill 121, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll pass that on. And I'm sure those Braves and Appalachian Trail people and all those good people will thank you once again for being on this bill. I'd like to present to the committee the House substitute to Senate Bill 231. This is the bill that was brought by Senator Loudermilk, extending the provisions of Joshua's Law for 5 years. As you remember, we had a fair amount of discussion about that. We had testimony last time about that, and there was testimony from many of the committee members that indicated that since the money was not appropriated for driver education, that the question of what should we do with that fund and the fee that goes on every ticket, how should that be handled? And there was some desire, and I expressed a desire at that point in time to look at the possibility of substituting some language in here that would call for the reduction of the fee over time. That was Chairman Jay Powell's language from last year that passed the House, did not pass the Senate. And I don't think they have any active bill over there to do the same thing. That language was fairly complex in terms of how that formula worked, in terms of ratcheting down the fee. And so what happened was that in the interim, the House Budget Office, Chairman England, and I and others got together on the issue of Joshua's Law, and we determined that there may be a good solution here, which hopefully is represented in this substitute. If you remember, there's been no funding for Joshua's Law in 2010, 11, or 12 budgets. It generates about $10.6, $10.7 million per year to the general budget. It's the fees collected since 2005 have been $78 million, and the appropriation's been about $8 million. So $70 million over that period of time has gone to the general fund. Recommendation from the House Budget Office is as follows, and you'll find that in Section 1 of this replacement for the Joshua's Law. And basically, what it says is we're going to reduce the fine percentage to 1.5% from 5%. The other change that we're going to make is we're going to extend the sunset date to 2016, and then you'll find on the next page at line 34, we're going to require that there be a report issued as to how that money was expended and what the effective success was of the program that it was expended for. Obviously, there's got to be some money appropriated to be able to do this, and so the rest of the story is this: Chairman England is since the revenue that we're talking about here was never in the governor's revenue estimate for the 2014 budget, so that $10,600,000 or so is just sitting there that'll come in if we don't do anything. Was never in the revenue estimate. So Chairman England has asked that what we do is we pass this legislation, and then he will take action to get the revenue estimate increased by approximately $3 million. And that revenue estimate then would, in the conference committee budget that comes out, would be appropriated back to the Driver Education Commission, and that's how this would be funded. So it would be funded at a level that it previously was funded when they actually did something with the money. And so basically what it would do would be to reduce revenues by about $7 million and put the Driver Education Commission back into play, and hopefully they'd be able to do some good work in terms of that issue. And so that's basically what we did in terms of amending Senate Bill 231 in the substitute, and I'll stand for any questions that might be.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Chairman. This, of course, is something that I've worked on for the last several years, but the 1.5%, is that is any portion of that going to end up in general funds, or is this about how much is going to would be funded out for the program?
Without a constitutional amendment,
Right.
to earmark these funds, it could well wind up in the general fund, just like it has for the last 3 years, and for most of the time it's been since 2005. Right?
Right.
$78 million came in, $7 million expended on driver education, rest went to the general fund. So without a constitutional amendment, the answer to your question is no. But I think it's a lot further along when the House Budget Office and the Budget Chairman, the Appropriations Chairman, are willing to raise the revenue estimate to cover a $3 million expenditure on this driver education, and that's you can't put that into law, but you can.
Exactly.
You know I mean that's the way it stands right now, and and as if we do this in this particular fashion, the hope is, since the budget's being finalized in conference committee right now, we would take this right away into rules, get it passed tomorrow, get it on the calendar for Friday, get it passed, so we'd have the enabling legislation to go ahead and do our side of it, and then the budget people would do their side of it, and frankly, the people in the Driver Education Commission would wind up with $3 million where they have zero.
That's great.
Right now, so I think that's a good compromise, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to pass that along. If anybody is interested, excuse me, one more thing.
Okay.
If anybody's interested, this is the House Budget Office report on this. I'd be happy to share that with you at any particular point in time. I'm sorry I didn't get it in print to you today. We've been kind of working on this. So, Mr. Chairman, that's my comments on this.
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'll make a motion.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Chairman Bowles will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we do pass Senate Bill 231.
Substitute.
I mean the substitute. I'm sorry, substitute, which is LC 353018S.
We have a motion to pass substitute Senate Bill 231. Have a second? Second. Motion second. All in favor of the motion on substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none,
Good.
substitute passes. Chairman, you have any announcements, anything on this?
I got one announcement. We're done. We're done. Thanks, Lux. Thank you for your work. As the summer goes by, we are going to have some other meetings of this committee to work on the Title 40 changes that came up in the study committee last summer, and there'll be a bill dropped next week. Will be fairly long to get into the Title 40 stuff. Title 40 is all where the motor vehicles code is. and I'd be interested in your reaction to it. And we'll call some meetings so we can move that bill next year. A lot in it, DUI stuff in it, a number of different things. So it'll be an interesting thing to work on. Thank y'all.
We adjourn, pending the chairman's announcement.
I'm done. Thanks, Bubba.
Thank you.